Hi BookTube, so I'm here to talk about the books I read in the second part of June. I had intended to do weekly wrap-ups like I had been for the first part of June, but I got waylaid, like I mentioned in my July TBR, by a reaction to the COVID shot, and then I had the huge heat wave hit Portland that was just unbearable, and then I had a fun, for once, weekend to a trip to Seattle for the 4th of July weekend. So the weekly wrap-ups were just kind of like put on the back burner. But I'm here to talk about the standouts that I read in the second part of June. Not all the books I read. I think I read a total of like 15 or 16 books. Sorry if the camera's jostling. Fable's sitting like right behind the camera. And so she's like moving things around. Hopefully you don't get too motion sickness or like hear lots of her breathing, because she's like, her nose is almost like on the phone. So the first one is by Ivan Dog. I'm not trying to pronounce it. The Whistling Season. And this is for sure becoming a fast new favorite author of mine. I've already, since reading this one, this past weekend, I read English Creek by this author. But The Whistling Season follows a family who are just struggling because their mother has died, and so they need a woman's touch to keep their house straight. And so the father answers a newspaper ad about a woman who's looking for a job, and she nails us right from the bat, like, I'm not a cook, I'm just a cleaner. And so he hires her on, and when she shows up, she brings unexpectedly her brother, who is for sure not, because he becomes the school teacher, and he is not the stereotypical teacher at all. He's very well learned, and he's traveled broadly. Like he mentions, like stories of like Egypt and South America and all over, and so he really takes under his wing a son of the father in the household. And he really like lifts up his education to a level that normally isn't the case for a small town prairie town, where he encompasses grades kindergarten through 8th all in one room school. And so he's like learning Latin, and he's thinking about learning Greek. And so yeah, this was just a fantastic story. Ivan seems to write a lot of like Western stories. He grew up in Montana himself, and then he later moved to Washington. And so yeah, I'm just ready to pick up all of his books. And yeah, this was just a fantastic read. I then read A Promised Land by Barack Obama. And this is his story of his time of, making his way to the presidency. And there's lots of politics involved. And for me, I needed a bit more, human quality to it, if that makes sense. More like personable. I would have enjoyed more than, very much, this is like I feel like a little bit more manicured, cleaned up version of politics. And I want more like behind the scenes. But this was good. And I know I'm late getting this. I feel like everyone else has read it but me. But I'm happy to have read it now. I then have Once Upon a Summer by Jeanette Oak. And I started the series. And then there's a couple other. It's a season quartet. And so each book follows a different season. And so I saw this was like summer, so I was hunting through my shelf for different summer books. And so this was very humorous, because it's following a boy who changes are coming to his family because the not his parents, but the men in his family, because his mom has died. But the men in his family have decided that his sister, who's a bit older than him, needs to hurry up and get married, because they don't want her to be strapped down by taking care of them in their old age, and they're getting older, and they're going to bring in their great grandfather, who's even older than them. So they don't want her to become like a house, a nurse to all of them. And so they're like, they started to scheme to marry her off. Well, their schemes come all sorts of awry, and it's helped along by the boy, the main character, and the perspective you get is from the little boy who, he's not little, I shouldn't say that, but I forgot how old he is, like 12, 14, something like that. And so he for sure throws some wrenches in their plans of getting her married off. That part was just so funny to me. I really enjoyed the story. And of course, in the end, love wins out. And so the sister picks her own husband and doesn't have, her family finagling in with her romance. And so yeah, this was just a great story, and I'm looking forward to the rest in the series. I then have Emily of Deep Valley by Maud Hart Lovelace. And sorry for the glare there, but this is part of, it's in the world of the Betsy Tacy series, but it's like I don't know, like a compendium series in a way. But Betsy Tacy do pop up in this, but it is for sure Emily's story. And I love this one. This is my favorite book by Lovelace for sure. And this is about Emily, she's just graduating high school, and all of her friends are going off to college, and she feels for sure left out. She wants to go to college, but she decides what's best, instead of what's best for her grandfather, who is elderly, and she has been taking care of him throughout high school by herself, decides that she needs to stay in the town and not go to college, because that's what's best for her family. And but she doesn't let that stop her. Like, at first she gets, down and depressed because all of her friends are away in college. Like, there's new experiences and making new friends and like moving on with life in a way. And she feels stuck. But she makes her own education. Like, she starts taking piano and dance classes and starts a book club. And so she doesn't let those adversities stop her from continuing with her education. She decides, like, I can't remember the quote in here, but something like, decides to learn through life, throughout life, and not stop learning, just because you're not in school anymore. And this is a fantastic story. I really, really enjoyed, like, her relationship with her grandfather and all the friends that she starts making in the town, and and then the romance that she has. It was just great. I can just rave on and on about this story because it was just a fantastic book. So if you've read the Betsy Tacy series, maybe, and you want more from her, then yeah, I for sure recommend this one. I then have Ellen Hildebrand, Golden Girl, and this is the newest book by her. It's her continuation of writing Nantucket summer beach stories. And this is about, I can't remember her name, Keeley or something. I might be making it completely. I can't remember her name. Anyway, the woman in the story, Vivian, that's her name. It's not a spoiler because this happens like at the very beginning. I think it's talked about in the summary as well, the synopsis, that Vivian gets killed unexpectedly, hit and run, and gets like ascended into this, not heaven, but like in between place where she is allowed to observe what her family is doing just for the summer. And so, but she's also given these like 3 nudges to kind of like, nudge different people that she, 3 different incidences to sway them to what she wants them to do instead of what they're going to do as she's watching them. And so she is watching her 3 grown children through going through their loss of losing their mother, and she finds out, because now she's watching them, not as a mother in a house, but above that, what really is going on instead of what they just come home to tell the mother. And so her oldest daughter is going through several miscarriages, and she's dealing with that and a lot. She's like the most closely connected to the mother, and so she's like mainly dealing with a lot of grief there. And then the middle child is very outspoken and for sure like the black sheep of the family, because she's into drugs and having affairs and drinking and getting fired from lots of jobs. And so so Vivian is for sure keeping her eye on this middle daughter. And then you have the youngest boy who is just getting out of high school and trying to decide if he's going to keep his high school sweetheart, or does he want to break off all of that and go start fresh in college. And so then, along with those 3 storylines, and her story as well, in this heaven or beyond or whatever, then you have the mystery of who killed her, like who did this hit and run. And so you have a perspective from the cop. So each chapter follows a different character, and that really moves the story along, and I think it has a really good pacing. And so yeah, this was just a different story, because if I had if someone told me that I'm reading a story about this woman from beyond, and she has these 3 nudges that she's given, I mean, yeah, no, I'm writing that out. I'm not going to read that. But I was very happily surprised, which I shouldn't be surprised, because I've read a ton of Ellen Hildebrand's work, and I've enjoyed all of them. So yeah, if you want a good beach story that's, a recent release, then yeah, pick up this one. And then the last book I'm going to be talking about is Bill Bryson's The Lost Continent, Travels in Small Town America. And I love this the summer road trip story, and this has a lot of humor in it. I've read a couple other of his books. I've read A Walk in the Woods, about his story through the Appalachian Trail, and I've read his book on Journey to Australia. I think those are the only other 2 I've read, so this is my 3rd one from him. And so he has this kind of grumbly, kind of sarcastic humor in a way, because he's traveling all over America through these small towns, and he has like I can't. He can't complain a lot, but it comes across very funny, if that makes sense. So yeah, I didn't really mind that at all, just because his snarky humor was just really funny. I was like cracking up like every other page, which I really needed. I really needed the laugh after my last 2 weeks that I've had. So yeah, this was just a great nonfiction, road trip story. So yeah, if you like his humor, then, or if you like road trips, then this would be a great story to read. I'm losing my voice here. So anyway, those are the books I've read. Not all of them, but these are the highlights of the books I've read in the last part of June. I will try and do more weekly wrap-ups in July. So it's not all lumped up into one. But I will talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube.